Hello, Tracy here with another scrapbooking process video. Today I am doing another project using the Brighter Days kit from MercyTiara Kits. I'm having a really great time using these kits and I can't wait for you to see what I came up with today. This is actually the same day that I created the Home is So Much More Than a House layout. I took a little bit of a break and did a few other things and then came back to my scrap room and decided to scrapbook this one. Now, if you did see that other layout, you might have seen me take out this camera paper and run my finger along it in a little pattern. And so that's the idea that I had during that layout, and I'm just going to follow that up with this layout. So basically, I laid my paper out on my mat so that I could make sure that I was doing this at the less than halfway point, because I am basically wanting to make this zigzaggy kind of an edge on my paper where I'm going to cut around the shapes of this and end up with you know, an uneven up and down, in and out kind of a pattern for this layer of patterned paper. So I am using my smaller scissors for this so that I can get into all the little corners and nooks and crannies. And I just went ahead with my pencil first just to draw the guidelines so I knew exactly where I needed to go. I did not want this to look symmetrical, so that's why I kind of marked out my path where I wanted to cut ahead of time so that I wouldn't end up cutting, you know, in a weird way. So, done with that. This is just my little eraser collector item. It's a little tool that just catches all of your eraser bits. And now I'm just going in and I'm trimming up anything that was a little bit too rounded or if I got the angles wrong. And there's that. So my original plan was that this would be the bottom half of a layout, but now I'm starting to think that I might want an even smaller little chunk up at the top so that it'll look almost like these claws or almost like teeth or in a mouth that's opening on the page, and you'll have some of these claw-like things extending on the top and some of them extending on the bottom as well. And then your background paper is where the majority of my actual scrapbooking will go as far as embellishments and whatnot, and the photos and any journaling. So this top one I wanted to be pretty small, like a very thin layer of these cameras. So sometimes I'm going almost all the way down to the design strip and leaving actually a couple of partial cameras intact right there. And again, I don't want it to look too symmetrical, so I'm just being cautious that I'm not following the same path every single time. There's only so many cameras in this path if I'm trying to keep it small. So I am erasing the eraser marks from both the piece I'm using, but I also erase the pencil marks from that centerpiece that I cut out as well, because I might use that on another page, and if I do, I might forget that there are little pencil lines on there. So I just thought I would take those off now while I'm still thinking about it. So here we go. Now, the problem with this is that, first of all, my photos are too big. I'm going to need to print them smaller. I know that already. But the other problem that I'm having here is that this is way too matchy-matchy. This paper is the backside of that camera paper, and it was too similar. And so I wanted it to have just a little bit less of a matched look. Even though that blue paper is from the same collection, that was giving me a bit more contrast, which is what I was looking for. Those yellow dots, ooh, I'm loving those. So I keep coming back to those because I really, really love them. I like that they're white dots. They're a really nice, crisp, clean white. It's going to allow me to introduce some other white elements into this page. So this will be a page that combines creams and whites on one page. And not everybody likes that look, so you don't have to do that. There are enough white-based papers in this kit to do all white pages, and there are a small assortment of cream-based papers as well, so that if you wanted to not mix and match your creams and whites, you could make some layouts that were creams and some layouts that were whites. But I'm going to be combining because I like to do that. So I'm just having a look at these foam letter stickers from the flea market collection from Simple Stories. These came in the embellishment kit. And I'm just thinking about what my title might be and what the options are. My first thought was that I might call this Going Home, but I've already used the home phrase for my last layout, so I don't have the word home already made. I could spell it out with the letter thickers that came in the kit, but I'm just going to think on the title while I go ahead and outline the outside edge of this patterned paper. This is going to give it a little bit more definition, and this is one of those small touches that you don't have to do, but I really like the look of adding some outlining to my pages, especially when I really want to differentiate between my layers, which is what I want to do here. I took all the time to cut these camera pieces of paper, so I want to make sure that they're going to have a nice strong impact on my page and stand out from that polka dotted yellow paper. So that yellow paper is from the Spring Vibes collection from Pink Fresh Studio, and I adore it, and it's of course in the main kit. And then the camera paper is from the Simple Stories Flea Market collection. It's called Tell the Story. And I just cut down a piece of white inexpensive cardstock because I do want to actually mat this wonkily cut patterned paper. I want to mat it in white, and this is just one more little detail. Like I said, how the outlining is a little detail. Oops, I must have turned that paper incorrectly, and so I'm just going to turn it the other way so that it fully lines this. I'm just using my grid, the grid on my work mat, to help me line that. I didn't need to use the whole piece of white paper, so I just layered it down a little bit just to waste less paper, so I can have more of that white scrap paper on hand for other projects throughout the coming month. So there we go. Now I just have to cut around this, and it's going to be a little bit easier than cutting. And look at what I'm doing here. So I forgot I did this. I'm just making some horizontal cuts at the place that I want them to be, and then I can come in and just snip, snip, snip. That was a fun way to do this, but it wasn't very sustainable across the whole length of the page, but it was a nice way to start off. And so I'm just snipping down, and then snipping across. That's generally how I've been doing it. And as you can see, this is a very, very subtle detail, and you don't have to do something like this. As you can see, it adds just a teeny bit of extra detail. What I really like about it is that it adds even more white to this page. That patterned paper has some white details in it, so the cameras have some white, but I wanted there to be even more white on this page. Where I am combining cream and white, I am a little bit more particular about the proportions of those, and so that's why I'm going to the trouble of mounting this whole zigzaggy paper on the white cardstock. I think it's worth it. You might not. You don't have to do it. It adds just a little bit, and I love those little details. And I know I'm going to be journaling around these chunks because that's one of my favorite things to do. So I know that that's going to draw your attention to that shape of the cutout paper, and so having that extra little detail of the white matting I think is going to be really worthwhile. Now I pulled out my keyboard here because I'm going to reprint these photos. They're at a funny aspect ratio, and it turns out that I just coincidentally tried 2 dimensions that worked perfectly. What I ended up going with is 2.5 by 3, I think. No, it was actually 2.25 by 3, and that just perfectly. I didn't have to move the photo around at all. It was the perfect aspect ratio for that one. I must have had my phone set on a weird setting there. So I am trimming those out, leaving a white border around the edge. So that gives me a nice little bit of matting there. And now that I have those two photos printed up at the right size, I have a better sense of how much of this paper I'm going to need. So I don't need all of it. So I just scooched it down a little bit. As you see, I just ran my pencil along the edge to mark the part that overhung. And now this leaves me with these proportions right here. I'm going to do my journaling right where I just moved my finger along. But first, I'm going to have to glue these pieces down. This is the easy part because they go exactly where they go. I don't have to make any decisions about this. So let's start with putting these down, and then we'll see what else I might want to do. That ATG is super forgiving. I did have a little bit of it sticking out, and all that you do is rub your finger on it and it rolls right up and comes off your page. So that's the great thing about using ATG. And now I'm just going to position that based on lining up the bottom, and there we go. Now I wanted to put a thick outer line, and I forgot that my Zig thick marker was running out. So I switched to my Faber-Castell Pitt pen with the brush tip, and I just put even pressure all the way around. Oops, this was overhanging a little bit. I just want to take that off so when I'm outlining properly. And there we go. So that just gives me a little bit of bold outlining. I thought about outlining the edges of my cutout patterned paper as well, but I refrained, and I'm glad I didn't because I think it would have taken away too much from the journaling that I did there. So here's my rationale for using this title. I'm calling it The Best Day because I'm not big on hyperbole, and I don't typically use any of these sentiments in sticker sheets that are like best day ever and all of that kind of thing. But this actually was a pretty great day, and not many days will compare to it. So I'm going to call this one The Best Day because it allows me to use this, which I can't imagine using in any other situation. Very few. So I'm going to unstick that with my powder tool, which is by EK Tools, EK Success. And it just dispenses a little bit of powder through a little brush. And I wanted it to look like there were leaves growing out from behind the title here. So I'm going to put leaves in 3 different places. These are the vellum die cuts from Pink Fresh Studio. These came in the embellishment kit, the embellishment add-on. So besides the papers, most of the items on this layout are coming from the embellishment add-on. I just thought I'd rescue these 2 leaves in case I ever need them for something extra. There are some other leaves that I'm leaving in the set, so that will give me the option to use those again. And I'm just looking for what else there might be that belongs on this page. That one says Brighter Days Are Ahead, so I thought that was good to use there. And then I thought I would add 2 or 3 little butterflies here. I like that one with the purple and the green, and then I'll put 2 more in another place in a second here. So I grabbed that gold foil one, and then I just need 1 more to go with it. They'll overlap a little bit. And I like how that looks. Like my last layout, I am going to outline this title. And there's a lot of outlining on this page, and I feel like outlining the title in this situation. Last time I used it to make sure that there was more black on my title, but in this situation, obviously it's nice to add some black, but I'm more just wanting the title to have a little bit more emphasis. I found that there wasn't enough contrast between the blue of the letter stickers and the white on the background, and I just wanted to have it have a little bit more oomph. And my best tip for you when you're outlining is to just go slow, but not too slow. So you want to just kind of, relax your hand and your arm and just go. I find that if I go too slow, that's when it gets even more wobbly, and it gets like a shaky looking instead of big wobbles. Big wobbles look okay because it just has that kind of handmade look that is quite charming and nice. But I find that if I go too slow, then I get little shaky wobbles that don't look quite as nice. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Just, commit and do it. It was sticking a little bit too much as I was outlining there, so I added a bit more powder with my powder tool. And now I want this green embellishment strip here that says brighter days are ahead. I want it to line up so that the words are running along the white strip on the bottom of my photo. And I just used my tiny attacher to attach it. And I was also just really careful to not cover up too much of the face of any of the face of my cat. I didn't mind if it overlapped with her paws and her chest a little bit, but I wanted her face to be fully part of the photo because we don't travel with our cats. Our cats are not travelers. And so it's very strange for us to have our cats in the car with us. And that's part of the, I guess, I'm not going to say fun. There was nothing fun about this experience, but it was interesting to have the cats there. I'm going to read for you my journaling as I write it down there. So it says the evacuation order was rescinded on Friday night, just after we had eaten B-Day cake for Liv's B-Day. I know that's a little bit repetitive, but it's off the cuff journaling and it is what it is. We were in a bit of a state of shock as we weren't expecting to go home until Sunday. Hooray for rain. And so this layout just documents our kind of trip back home. It was an hour drive in 2 different cars with 5 people, 2 people and 2 cats in one car and 2 people and 2 cats in the other car. I think is how we did it. Yeah. I think we had 2 cats. On our way down, it was different. We had only 1 cat in my car. So I just added those little vellum butterflies from the Pink Fresh Studio collection, added those with some dry adhesive, some roller. And now I'm just looking for a few final touches. I feel like this one needs just a little bit more, and that sticker wasn't fitting where I wanted it to go, so I just cut it in half. I might use the other part of that circle. It says applause all around. And I like how it tucks under there and it balances off with the green long strip that's on the bottom. And I'm also grabbing some of these chipboard flair from Pink Fresh Studio that also came in the embellishment kit, the embellishment add-on. I'm putting them in 3 different places, and those add even more pops of the bright white to my page. You just want to make sure when you're combining cream and white that you don't have one of either of them, right? So you have to have, you don't have to do anything. You can do what you want. But I really like the look of combining them in such a way that they're balanced so that you've got an equivalent ratio of bright whites to the creams. Otherwise, it looks like if you only have 1 cream and the rest is all white, it looks like it was a mistake, like you didn't notice it, or even more so if it's all cream and then there's just 1 pop of white someplace. You just want to make sure that you've got a couple of different places for the white. And so I have it on the matting behind the pattern paper of the cameras, and then I also have those 3 pops of white with those flare badges as well. That's really bright white. And then we have cream on the background of the camera paper and a brighter cream behind the title sticker there. And thought about using the washi tape, but no, I think that this one is done. I added some enamel dots, as you saw, close to the flare badges, the cardstock flare badges. And before I share the photos, just a quick shout out to my Patreon supporters. These folks help make this channel happen, so great big thanks to them. Patrons get early ad-free access to my process videos and real-time unedited versions of my videos, as well as a monthly live stream and some other behind-the-scenes things. So thanks to them, and thanks to you also for watching. Let me know if you have any comments about this one. Let me know if you have the Brighter Days kit, what you plan to do with it, and I hope that you have a really great scrappy week.